very telling statement came out of the judge's mouth yesterday after he read all the documents and heard all the arguments from the government, prosecutors in D.C., prosecutors in New York, Michael Cohen and his lawyers. And that was about the president. The judge finding that the president ordered and paid for Michael Cohen to commit a crime. That is very telling.
What crime?
The intentional deception and failure to report campaign payments.
But Donald Trump has said that that was not a campaign violation because it wasn't involving the campaign. It was a damage control payment.
Unfortunately, the president wasn't in the courtroom, and the people who were, the federal prosecutors who had a statement from David Pecker, the guy that owns the National Enquirer, said it was for the campaign. The prosecutor said it was for the campaign. Michael Cohen said it was for the campaign. The president wasn't there. Maybe he should have had lawyers there. So if you make an honest mistake in failing to report something, or if you take $100,000 and you're only supposed to take $2,500, you can correct that by returning the money, paying a fine, and correcting the report. If you do this as part of a scheme to hide it, then it's not a civil wrong, then it's a crime. That's what the judge found yesterday.
Well, if, like, for example, Reverend Wright is speaking out, making President Obama, candidate Obama, look bad, and someone walks up to Reverend Wright and says, hey, could you stop making the president, the senator look bad? He's running for president. But what does that have to do with the campaign? But yet it is how that might influence how I vote.
That would not be a campaign.
So this is no difference. This is a negative story the president went out because he's running for president.
I understand the president's argument. Unfortunately, the court and the prosecutors who work for the president disagree with him.
Yeah, but they went after John Edwards for essentially the same idea because there was money paid to a woman who he had had an affair with and had a child. That went to court, that went to trial, and he was found not guilty.
The John Edwards case actually hurts the president because John Edwards' lawyers made a motion to dismiss the indictment, saying it's not a crime. And the judge published an opinion saying why it's a crime. Now, the jury didn't believe the government and believed John Edwards. But the fact of the matter is, any scheme to defraud the government by failing to report what must be reported is a crime.
Something pretty amazing happened on Fox and Friends, where Judge Napolitano systematically debunks every single one of Republicans' usual talking points that they pivot to distract from Trump's crimes. And that includes the fact that Trump's failure to report campaign payments is a crime. Saying that it's not that serious of a crime doesn't not make it a crime, it just doesn't make it murder. But it's still a crime. And worse, had it been a reporting error, Trump would have corrected it. But he didn't try to correct it, he lied to hide it, which makes it a scheme to defraud the federal government, and that's a crime. But Steve Doocy had the worst take of all as he attempts to invoke John Edwards' case because, well, as you might have noticed, the GOP's only trick is to say, don't look at this because look at that. But as Judge Napolitano noted, Edwards' case, which they likened to Trump's, was a crime, and it was the jury that failed to issue a legally sound verdict. But see, that's the difference between these two parties. You don't see Democrats falling over themselves to defend John Edwards because, unlike modern-day Republicans, the party isn't predicated on one person, but rather a set of ideals. Affordable healthcare, labor protections, access to voting, a living wage. That's why you don't hear anything about Hillary from the left. And I wish I could say the same about Hillary on the right. The party can exist without her. And as the midterms have shown, it is. But the right is the party of Trump, wherein everyone has bought into the reality show circus that the majority of this country clearly rejects. It's why 40 House Republicans and nearly 400 Republican state legislators are unemployed come January. And it's going to render these state TV sycophants like Fox and Friends quickly obsolete as soon as he's out of office, which clearly might be sooner rather than later.